All right. Welcome back to another episode of Light Skin Pod, number 48. Still creeping up on that 50 mark.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but today we're here with a good friend of mine. If you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Jason Manning. I'm the program director and morning show host at KQDS Radio, 6 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. I don't know which camera I'm supposed to be looking
It don't
at.
even matter. Usually we don't even look at the cameras. We just be talking. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on with us.
It's a pleasure, man. Your Light Skin podcast it's taken off. I've heard from many people that it's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm going to make it a point to put it on the rotation.
Definitely.
Being as busy as I am, I don't get a chance to sit down and listen. So, but everybody I said I'm going to be on with Pez and the Light Skin, they're like, it's awesome. Good. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. We got you. Well, like always, let's start with baby Jason. Where were you born? Tell us about life growing up.
Okay. Well, I was born in Minneapolis. I grew up a Minneapolis kid. And went to school down there in junior high and pretty much lived on my bicycle and a fishing rod in my hand. There's a lot of really good fishing down in the cities. So as a kid, back when basically in the summertime, Mom said, get out of the house right after breakfast, be back for lunch. And then you got back from lunch and she kicked you out and said, be back for dinner. And then she'd kick you out again and say, be back in time for bed. And so that's what we did. We lived on our bikes. So we fished the Mississippi River, the Minnehaha Creek, Lake Harry, Calhoun. And it was a fun childhood down there, that's for sure.
Definitely. It was cool. We were just talking, like me and the staff and stuff at work of, like, we drive around and I don't see kids on bikes. That's like a big thing. Everywhere, everybody I grew up with, whether your mom could afford a bike or you stole a bike.
Right.
I mean, I stole a couple on my day, but everybody had bikes. And we used to meet, me, my brothers, all my cousins, we used to meet on the south side and like let everybody know we was coming out through like MySpace or something dumb or call the house phone. And you get like 30, 40 people, just bikes, and we just ride downtown. Fun as hell.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it was with us. You get on the phone with your friends and like, all right, we're going to meet here, we're going to meet here at noon on Saturday, be there, and then you'd see who show up.
That's it.
Yeah, because we didn't have MySpace when we rode it around on bikes,
Nope, nothing like that with us. We didn't have cell phones. I still have my best friend's phone number memorized.
That's crazy.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
The only number, I remember two numbers. One is my grandmom's home phone number, which I'll never forget that one. And then my mom's first cell phone that I could remember. I still remember that number, and I know for a fact that's off now. But I said, why is this number still in my head? But I repeated it every day because I needed to find a phone to call her damn near every day, check on herself.
Used to have a whole encyclopedia. Now I know my wife's phone number. I don't even know if I know both my kids' phone numbers.
Wow.
That's about it. I barely know my own phone number.
Right? I'm telling you.
Well, the kids, plus I call Pez 6 times a day.
Sure.
I couldn't tell you his phone number.
Yeah, I don't even know what your number start with. I don't even know if it's a 218 or anything else. But.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be able to meet some people that are get off the run types like I am, because I feel like every time we're on the air and I tell a story, I can feel myself getting older and aging and screaming at the kids and shaking a stick at them and all that.
Trust me, I want to be that old guy that just rocking a rocking chair and just judge all the kids.
That's me right now.
Oh, well, we know. And I can't wait to be that age.
That's right.
So other than fishing, did you play any sports growing up or?
No, I was a gangly, shy kid. I was what you call a late bloomer.
Got it.
So come high school, I went to high school for 1 year at Southwest before my parents moved us out to the country. And so for the first couple of years of my high school career, it'd be time to take a shower after gym, and I wasn't showering at those apes, man. I was what you call a late bloomer is what it was. So I didn't do a lot of sports or anything like that. But then before I started my sophomore year, my folks moved us out to rural Wisconsin.
Okay.
And they still commuted every day into the cities. It was 60 miles one way. It was about 15, 20 miles east of Hudson in a little town called Hammond. So I went from attending school at Southwest to a school called St. Croix Central, where our graduating class in Minneapolis was 300 kids. The entire 7th through 12th grade student body was 70 kids.
Jesus.
So it was a bit of a culture shock is what it was. But I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I felt like when I went out there, I could totally just become who I wanted to be. I gave a complete different impression. And I just kind of came out of my shell then. So Made a lot of friends out there. I took up golf. I know the manliest of sports, but
The manliest.
I was too slow. I was too skinny. I was too everything to play any other sport. I attempted to play hockey because I thought I could skate. Turns out I really sucked at that too. But I had a knack for playing golf, so I ended up going to state in high school and
Oh, there you go.
all that stuff.
Heck
Yeah.
Siblings growing up?
My younger brother, Joe, who lives down in Anoka. He's 2.5 younger than I am. As a matter of fact, he has a birthday coming up here in April. And he's married. He has 2 children. His daughter, Ivy, who is going to be going to college on a volleyball scholarship, and his son, Nate, who just graduated, and he'll be going into the United States Marine Corps.
Hey, good for them.
Yeah,
Heck
so they're
awesome.
doing it. They're doing it right down there.
Yeah, that's what's up. So after high school, as you're approaching your senior year, did you start to think about like what do I want to do next?
No, I didn't know what I wanted to do. When my folks moved us out to rural Wisconsin, it was a year, and then 2 years, because I did sophomore year, junior year, and then for all sorts of different circumstances, they had to move back to the cities.
Okay.
So they moved back literally 3 blocks from where we moved from,
Oh,
right in
damn.
the same neighborhood.
Okay.
Well, by that time, I didn't want to leave. I loved it out there. So for the couple years there, I'd been milking cows and baling hay for this guy named Tom to make some extra money. And we were talking one day, and I said, well, what if I work for you full time and I found a place to live? And he said, and he was only 28 years old, and he had taken over the farm from his dad, who was stricken with Parkinson's, and I don't think he had any real plans of becoming a full-time farmer. So we met with my mom and dad, sat down, and they hammered out a contract. I'm going to be in bed by 9, maintain a B average, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. And they, unbelievably to me, allowed me to do that. So remember my dad telling me, look, I know you're only 17 years old, but now that you're out, you're out. You want to be an adult? You're an adult.
Well, locked in.
I
Get locked
said,
in.
Yes, sir. So they moved back and then rented an apartment. I had my own vehicle, 76 Dodge Plymouth Voyager van, to this day still my all-time favorite vehicle.
Yeah.
And so I worked full-time on the farm. I'd be up at 2:45. I'd milk cows, shower, breakfast, go to school, come home, milk cows, eat dinner, do homework, go to bed, and repeat. And that's what I did for my whole senior year.
Yeah.
Then played golf and chased girls and did all that sort of thing too.
For sure.
Yeah.
So how was it for you kind of being away from parents? Not far, but kind of living on your own. How was that just at the time for you?
It depended on the day. There's some days it was great, and there's some days I wanted to go home to mommy and daddy so bad. It was awful. This whole paying bills thing, and just, all that went involved with being an adult. And there's times it really sucked. But I never once called my folks for any money. I mean, I called them, obviously. I love my parents.
Definitely, yeah.
But I never went begging to come home or anything like that, because my dad's opinion, well, both my parents, but my dad, he's a hard man to please, right? He loved us. He was a great father. But his opinion meant everything to me, so I was going to make sure that he made the right decision letting me do this. But yeah, there's times it really sucked.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember like being young and working at the youth center here. Kids say it all the time. Well, I can't wait till I get out on my own. I said, I don't think y'all really know what that means. Like, it's not a spend the night over a friend's house thing, or hang out with your buddies on a weekend. Like, it's you, and if you don't got your shit together and can be disciplined enough, to get up for work, school, make sure your bills paid, passing your classes, so it's like, y'all don't understand what adulthood is going to amount to. You know, it's no joke. So.
It isn't. As they say, to kids, don't grow up, it's a trap, and there's some truth to that. I know it's just a saying, but yeah, I mean, when I knew I had to go to school the next day and I didn't have $5 to put in my gas tank, like, I don't know where I'm gonna get $5 because I just paid rent and insurance and all that stuff. But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Definitely.
I mean, I learned hard work. I did finally learn some discipline, though the discipline part, it took a few years to kick in because you're young and stupid. You do idiotic things. And I did my share. But it did lay the groundwork because, you can call me a lot of names. You can call me an asshole, but I'm an honest asshole. You can call me this, that. But don't ever call me lazy. That is the one thing I will take offense to is if you call me lazy.
That's Joe's thing. I give Joe so much shit because we both busy. Joe's busy, busy as fuck. You running your own business. coaching football, skiing, kids, and there are times he'll sleep in a little bit. I said, well, get your lazy ass up, yo. Don't call me lazy.
I hear you.
Can't stand it, but
I hear you.
That's like the only thing that will piss me off.
Yep.
I don't know why.
no.
Yeah, in the business I'm in, especially nowadays where it used to be if a listener wanted to get a hold of you, it was just the phone, right? You pick up the phone and all that. Now we have the text line, we have email, we have social media. So if they want to light you up and call you this, that, and the other thing, it's instantaneous. It's right there.
It's easy.
And I can usually let it roll off my back, but it's like any other job. Sometimes you show up to work, you're like, I don't feel like doing this today. But you do it because you're a professional. And somebody will just poke at you just the wrong way, and then you lose your shit. And I'm human, man. I'm as guilty as anybody else, and it happens. The thing with me is I have a 100,000 watt radio station and people streaming literally all over the world in which they can hear me vent. And there's times I have to sit there and go, Jason, get over yourself just a little bit. But whatever. It's worked for a long time. It's also nice to surround yourself with some really good, talented people. That makes all the difference in the world.
No, that's true. That's true. So, all right, so how long did you live on your own in that setting? Did you stay a little longer after high school, or?
Yeah, so like I said, the guy I worked for was 28 years old, and he had a gal that he was seeing in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. So it got to the point where I could just run the farm for him for 2-3 days while he went down there and hung out with his gal. And then when it was time to graduate high school, he made it pretty clear that she was moving in, so I was not to be on the because I rented his apartment upstairs. And he was very nice about it. He was like, you're out. Like, okay. I didn't know what I was going to do. Well, there's these two brothers from Germany a couple miles down the road. I don't remember their first names, but the last name was Zwald. And as a side hustle from doing the farm work, I did farm work for them as well to make some extra money. They needed a farmhand. And they said, we'll give you room and board. We're going to pay you $900 a month to come work for us. And I'm like, $900 a month? What the hell am I going to do with all that money? With
rich now, boys.
Yeah. I'm like, let's go. So I moved in with them. That lasted a month because these people that I'd worked for before just on the side, very nice people. Once you're under their eye full time, they were the meanest jerk. They screamed at you for everything. All they did was scream at me.
Damn. Yeah.
And I worked hard. And they had a much bigger farm, but they just hollered. That was a month of that. I'm like, I'm out.
Keep your $900.
So I called my mom and dad. I'm like, so I'm coming back to the cities. Could I just crash with you for a little bit? And of course, they're like, you come on back. But dad said, you will pay rent. I said, fair enough. So I paid him, I think I paid him $200 a month rent in the basement. That was great because I had meals, laundry, 3 hots and a cot, my mom taking care of me. And that didn't last but a couple months because I was antsy. But what was really cool is my dad took half the rent that I paid in. When I moved out, he gave me half of it back to get on my feet.
That's dope. And I'm not to cut you off or anything, but I talked about this with Joe before. I've always wanted to open like youth transitional housing.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and have them, make sure they get jobs or attending school, things like that, and have them pay rent. But what they don't know is we take half of that rent and we put in an account for them and just help them get set up, whether it's for college or whatever, and you give it to them at the end. So now they got a nest egg to, really start and feel comfortable when you're going through life. That's dope. Yeah, I like that.
No, I like your idea. That's certainly something to explore. I don't know, man. Again, I'm going to sound like get off the lawn guy, but it seems like there's no transition anymore from these kids that are out of high school and all of a sudden they're out in the real world. I don't know. Everybody wants to be on the YouTube or do something like this and be able to make a living doing it. And I would maintain if there's a kid that's kind of losing their way or whatever, stick them on a farm for a year or two. Put them to work. Let them learn. But I like your idea. That's a great idea.
For sure, yeah. Farm workers. My grandpa had a farm, and he grew watermelons and like squash and potatoes and corn. Had a couple animals, not many animals. But he did hay for people.
Sure.
So he would build up hay and sell it. That's the hardest work I've ever done. We would drive on the field, load the trucks up, and my grandpa would
Sorry.
You can,
Coffee went down wrong. And you made me think about baling hay because that job sucked
it's
a lot.
terrible. Yep.
I
Sorry
did
about
that
that.
one time up at Hillside Acres in Renshaw.
Yeah.
Pete Schleifer was his name. His dad owned the farm. I don't know who owns it anymore. But they had me help chucking bales of hay.
Yep.
Oh my God! One day
serious.
of that, you're done.
Yeah, and my grandpa would sit at the top in the little opening on the barn, and we would throw the hay bales from the bed to the top. And
Now, were they green bales or were they dried out bales? Because there's a massive difference.
you know, for the most part, they were brown already.
Right.
Yes. Sometimes we did have some heavier grass, but for the most part, it was. But we were also like 9 and 10. We were young as hell, and I'm just thinking. And it was terrible. You know, like my grandpa would put a ladder there and say, "Well, bring him up the ladder." I don't fucking know how much of this I can do. Like, what are you talking about right now? But he really did teach me, my little brother, a lot of hard work. So.
Yeah, those green bales, they'd be 120, 130 pounds, and the brown ones are a lot lighter. But, you know, in high school, I was 6'2", 6'3" in high school, but I weighed a whopping 160 pounds. So I was a string bean, but I could haul those things over my head. Now, I think about trying to lift one of those things, my back just starts screaming looking at it, you know. Youth is wasted on the young, as they say.
So now, after you left your parents' house, again, what did you do from there?
I moved in with a girl, because at 19, why wouldn't you? You're in love right away. And had a lot of fun. I ended up working at Lund's grocery store for quite a few years and smoked a lot of pot, grew my hair out like kids are wont to do.
Yeah.
And I was at the grocery store for a long time doing the overnight shift, and my brother worked with me, and we had a really good crew, man. When you're on an overnight crew at a grocery store, and it was good work, and I liked the work, you work with some absolute characters, just some people that you probably wouldn't normally meet in the light of day, but they were all great guys. And so we'd get done at the grocery store at 7 a.m., and we go get some night crawlers and our fishing gear and get a case of beer and go down to the Minnesota River, sit down there and catch carp and catfish and get all tuned up while the traffic's going above us over 35W.
Yeah.
And then go home, go to bed, and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, just keep rolling. Yeah.
So did that for a while, a few years anyway. And then one night, we used to close at midnight before we went 24 hours. And I'd always do the same thing at about 10 to midnight. I'd get on the microphone and go, "Attention, Lund's customers, Lund's will be closing in 10 minutes. Please bring your purchases to the front at this time." You know, and I just smoked a fatty out on break. So I'm sitting there doing this. This little old lady walks up with her cart, and she says, "Was that you on the microphone?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You should be in radio." And I just had this epiphany. I'm like, that sounds easy. I don't have to lift hay bales or anything. So as it would happen, a guy who worked during the day, his brother was the continuity director at KQRS in Minneapolis. So he put me in touch with them. I got an internship. And then from there, I enrolled at Brown Institute. So I did night classes there because I really didn't know how else to get into it. So I worked the grocery store, and I worked with my mom at the laundromat. I worked as a pin setter at Lariat Lanes, and before I was done with school, I got a part-time job at Power 96 in Faribault, Minnesota, and then the internship, and then they put me on the air at KQRS overnights. So I was doing 2 radio jobs, had those other gigs, and going to school.
Busy as hell.
Yeah. You know, and the grocery job was overnight, but it was still a lot of fun. You know, it was still a lot of fun. It was tiring, but you're young. You can get away with doing all that. And I still found time to party and chase girls and all that stuff. So, yeah, did that. And then they hired me at KQRS. And I was doing overnights. And then I was a producer for Tom Bernard, if you know the name Tom Bernard. Guy's a legend. And, you know, when I was young, I got a Walkman at 7th grade. And the first time I put it on, I put the headphones on. I found Tom Bernard's show on KQRS, and his voice was just so cool. He had such an awesome voice, and so a lot of their humor is above the head of a seventh grader, but I got it.
Yeah.
I got it immediately what they were doing, and I always said I'd love to do that job someday. And then ultimately I became one of his producers for about 3 years. And that was wonderful. He was unbelievably good to me. He had an on-air persona that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but the man's a giant in the industry and a huge influence on me. And he was so unbelievably nice and kind to me. We played a lot of golf together, went to movies, had lunch. He just, for whatever reason, took me under his wing.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
And so then they cut budget about 2.5, 3 years into it, and they let me go. But they said, tell you what, get a hold of KQ in Duluth, because I was still really young. And they said, go up there and cut your teeth for a year. And then we'll bring you back in a year. Thought, oh, okay. I didn't know any better. So I called up to KQ in Duluth, and a guy by the name of Paul St. Andrew was the program director at the time. And I introduced myself, and Paul said, it's nice to hear from you. We just don't have anything at this time. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what are you going to do? So back to the grocery store I went. And so I'm in my apartment a month later, something like that. And I'm on the can, and the phone rings. And the answering machine, if you remember what an answering machine is, picks up. And it's Paul St. Andrew. And he goes, hey, man, give me a call. We might have something for you. I'm like, sweet. So I called him. And I'll never forget this, because Dave Hamilton, who was the program director at KQRS, called Paul and said, hire this kid. Bob Sansevier, who wrote for a long time for the St. Paul Pioneer Press, called and said, hire this kid. Tom Bernard went out of his way to call Paul and said, hire this kid.
That's cool.
And I didn't find out about this till years later. But they called and said, they saw something in me, hire this kid. So I came up here and did afternoons, did that for a year. True to their word, they brought me back to Minneapolis. I worked down there for 93X, X105, then 93X for about 3 or 4 months, and then I quit. I did not want to live in the cities anymore. The year I'd spent up here in Duluth was wonderful. I just said, I want to die up here.
Yep. Had you been here before?
Just passing through to go to the Boundary Waters.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, just passing through to go to the Boundary Waters. So I didn't have any particular love or anything like that for Duluth up until I moved up here for the radio job. But I think I was up here a week and I fell in love with it. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, Duluth is different, man. I tell you, I'll never forget my first time coming up over the hill. You know, and you like, damn, this shit beautiful. Like, this is absolutely beautiful up here.
It was just gorgeous. Everybody was so nice, and you know, being a huge fisherman, it was all right there.
You were here. Yeah.
It was all right there, and I didn't care if I came up here and did anything for a living. You know, I clean toilets, which I do now at the bait shop anyway. So there you are. But yeah, I loved it up here. And I remember when I quit, the program director at the time told me I was committing career suicide. Like, I don't care. You know, and I've been very fortunate. Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate.
Now, did you get right back into radio when you moved from the cities back to Duluth?
No, it took a little time. Again, I found myself back at the grocery store because I couldn't find anything up here in radio. And I just wasn't in a position to up and leave. You know, I had a lease on an apartment and all that. But I had the feelers out, and then fast forward 6 months or so, I got back up here doing overnights at KQ. And at that time, you had the inmates running the asylum. I don't even know if we knew who owned the station at that time, but they hired me at $8 an hour to do overnights. And after 3 days, I was doing the overnight shift until 6, and then did the morning show from 6 to 9 every day. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing. The general manager would literally became the first person that went into the GM's office once it was vacated, because we were burning through general managers like that. Nobody had any idea what was going on. Program director guy was on the take with the record executives. That's back when you had record guys that would kind of get a hold of radio stations and spiff you something for playing music. You know, and there were garages being built and trips being taken. Not for me, I was just a dumb jock. But the people running the station were taking it. We were playing just some shit too. Some of these CDs we'd be forced to play. I'm like, what are we doing? But you know, you muscled through it, and then eventually Red Rock Radio, Red River Broadcasting bought us, and then they brought in a guy by the name of Sean Scramstead, who ended up being our GM for 20 plus years, and he whipped that place into shape. I hated that guy for the first 5-10 years I worked with him. because he was just so, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
But to this day now, I love him and appreciate him. Once things were humming along, he was as loyal as the day is long. And he was really, really good to me. And he's retired now. He's living down in Florida. But I owe him a lot. I owe him a lot. But, you know, when you've been used to just calling your own shots and not having to listen to any authority whatsoever, you're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You know? But structure, man. People need structure sometimes.
And they
That's
want
what
it.
takes. Yeah.
People naturally want structure and order of some type. You know, and I learned that a lot just from working with kids. It's why they act out, you know, because they lack either discipline or they know, like, this is off. It's not supposed to be that way, but they don't know how to voice it or, you know, share their opinion in it. So it's more of just an impulse to act up, you know. And I know, and everybody talk about it, like, when most people got a routine. The moment I wake up and my routine is off,
Amen.
It'll fuck my entire day up unless somehow we get back on track. It's like mornings that I don't work out. I hate it.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Then my mind is off. I ain't got energy.
I don't work out anymore. I probably should, but yeah, I have to lay out my clothes. I have to make the coffee. I have to have stuff done for the show the next day. I have to go through all these processes before I go to bed. Otherwise, I don't sleep, and then I'm a mess in the morning.
Yeah,
you know, ask my wife. She knows I'm a creature of habit, and that's just. Again, it comes from that structure.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah, you need it. Everybody need it to a degree anyway, so.
Right.
So, I guess fast forward from there, how did you get into the position that you are now with the radio station?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to win. It was my old morning show partner, Bill Jones, and I have worked together for, 9-10 years. And we did very well, fortunately, knock on wood. And then he went and he moved down to Nebraska back home to be with his family, and he started Jones Brothers Cupcakes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so he has a couple of locations now, and he's doing very, very well. And we had a lot of fun together. We had a fun show together, and we won. And then when he left, I ended up with a guy by the name of Frank Beffra for a year, and then that ran its course, but we were still number one. And then Scott Savage, who's my partner now, brought him on, and we've been together since, 2012, 2011, something. It all blurs together after a while.
Yeah.
And we just grind, man. We just work hard. You have to know who your audience is and give people a reason to listen. And I don't know, it works. Like I say, you have to surround yourself with really good people.
Definitely.
If one of us is out of the equation for a day or a couple days on vacation, it's a whole different animal. But I just, knock on wood, I don't know why it works, but it works. And you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You keep grinding away at it. And I'm just glad people give a shit is what it comes down to.
Definitely.
Scott Savage is a good dude.
He's a great guy.
We coached his kid in football. It might have been before you came around.
Seth?
Yes, Coach Seth in football.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
Grade, yes. And I heard he's working at the station now.
He was at the station for a short while doing traffic, and for people who don't know, traffic isn't the helicopter. It's scheduling commercials for the stations. Excuse me. So he did that, and actually he went on and he is working for Sirius, doing the same thing for like Howard Stern and people like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
So he's out in New York. Yeah, he's killing it.
That's cool
He's
as
killing
hell.
it. Like Scott says, he's like, kids making more money than I am right now, which we're in radio, so that's not really saying a lot. But he has given us a little bit of intel on how much Howard Stern makes doing live commercials and stuff like that.
Couldn't imagine.
It ain't Duluth money, I can tell you that. He's doing a lot better than we are.
Light skin pod.
Yeah, but it ain't the pod money, but
But all you can do is tip your cap to him, man. Howard, he figured it out. He figured it out. So yeah, Seth's out there right now. He's doing really well.
Good for him.
So, and this is just ignorant. So we always ask wild questions, and I just don't know. I asked a lady how they transport energy. I thought it's a dumb question, but we ain't got to go into it.
I'm surprised you brought that back up.
If you listen
That's a
6
big
to 10,
moment.
you're going to hear dumb questions out of my mouth every single day.
Well,
So
shit, I was just on there with y'all for a short time.
and I was
a couple
actually
weeks
in
ago.
Iowa, I think, talking to you.
You might have
It was
been.
in Iowa, or maybe it was up at Fortune Bay. Anyway, I remember talking to you, but I was at a remote location.
Yep. And so doing a radio station Monday through Friday,
Yes, sir.
it's like, I feel like you got to be on your toes a lot just to keep the show fresh and to keep the listeners engaged? Like, do y'all write out things the night before that you want to hit on? Do you watch a lot of news? Do you listen to other stations to like kind of get ideas? Like, how does that?
I do not listen to other stations.
Okay.
I do not, as far as I'm concerned. As all due respect, because there's a lot of good people in this town doing radio.
Yeah.
I have some friends there, but I just don't listen to other radio stations. I'm in my own little world with KQ. There are things I do the night before to prep, certain segments that we do to get them together, so I don't have to do it in the morning. And then I'm just constantly, I have my radar on constantly, and a lot of it's just observing life.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, some of the things you'll bring up, like shopping carts. I was at Walmart here a while back, so I'm at Walmart a lot with the store we own, and people leaving their shopping carts. And you bring up something like that, and the text line and the phone lines will go nuts, because it's something that we all experience every day. You know? So it's stuff like that. We'll talk about a lot of local issues. We avoid politics like the plague. You are not going to win. And unfortunately, sometimes you bring up a topic, and then social media being the animal it is, it becomes political. The guy up in Grand Rapids that just got busted for the underage sex sting, right?
Oh yeah, the school guy.
There's two of them: the school guy, the Rockridge guy. But this is a Republican state senator.
Senator.
So I made the mistake, because I never do this, but we talked about it, and he happens to be a politician, so people immediately go down that road. And I happen to go on Facebook and do something I never do, but I couldn't resist it, and I just wrote, "It gets political in 3, 2, 1, and sure shit.
Went crazy.
You know, people are blaming the Republicans for this guy supposedly going to hook up with a 16-year-old, right? If it had been a Democrat that did that, they'd be getting ripped on as well. And I just said, it's not political. This is a deviant POS that was going to have sex with an underage.
It's a bitch-ass guy.
Yeah.
That's it. Leave it at that.
Everything is political.
Everything.
When you go on social media, if somebody does something stupid, whatever it is, they're like, oh, that's obviously a Democrat. And then like there's thousands of comments going back and forth.
We've had it
It's
about
wild.
just on the name light skin. So like people would post under our things and say, light skin, don't you think you're being a little insensitive? And I was like, to who? Black people? I'm black. This has nothing to do with skin tone. Nothing at all.
You're black? I had no idea.
Shocked me. I had to look in the mirror. I said, you know what? Let me see if they on to something. They weren't. I mean, it's wild, the things. And I know it's not even upsetting to people. People want something to talk about. You know, or they want to fit into a sector that they think might, I don't know, finally accept them. I don't know what it is, but it's like life isn't as crazy as you want it to be. And you should be okay with that. You know? Well,
I was going through
drama.
Just to go through comments on social media, you can't help it. We're all human.
Yeah.
And I just like to see what the idiots are talking about, because there are a lot of them.
Oh, and it's hilarious.
There's a kid, my wife was telling me about this. I haven't looked, but apparently there's a kid like 19, 20 years old. He's going to be opening a car wash here in town.
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, that's Christy Stokes' son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he like that young, 19, 20?
Yeah, he's young as well, actually, he's a senior in high school.
And he's going to be opening his own business. How are we not celebrating that?
That's dope.
Apparently there's people ripping him going, what do we need another car wash for? Like, you know, we complain about this younger generation
being lazy.
you know, doing this thing and oblivious. Here's a kid out there. He's starting his entrepreneurial journey at 19, 20 years old.
Yep.
Tip your cap to him, for God's sake.
Yes, and shout out to that parent, Christy, because she's a hard worker.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And then still that in that kid, I wish we had 1,000 million more parents that could like her.
You look at a guy like Derek Medved. My wife and I own the Fredenberg Minno-Ette. It's been 4+ years now, and every day we screw something up, but we try and fix it. Medved's another one of those cats that started really, really young.
Yeah.
And I forget how many stores he has right now, but he's killing it.
Yeah, getting after it.
And he is so helpful. He's such a kind human being. You need more people like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's such a quality dude, and he's been such a huge help for us. So, but I promise, if you put something on there, people would find a way to rip Derek.
Oh,
to rip him.
100%.
And it's like, what are you doing?
You painted the store yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Stop it.
Wait, what store?
Oh, let's not get into that. But life is beautiful. So outside of radio, and you hinted to it that you got the Minnow shop and things like that. What other business ventures do you have?
A lot of it is centered around my wife's advertising agency, PVA, and then her promotional products company. An offshoot of that is Footprint Promotional Advertising.
Cool. Okay.
My wife, Briana, is a self-made woman. We've been friends since '98, right? Because she was married, I was married before, but we were friends. We would see each other at a lot of functions, hang out, have a beer, shoot the shit, and all that. But she started her ad agency at 22, 23 years old in her apartment. And there's a long story how she got to that point, but she had clients that figured out that she'd left the ad agency she was with, and they were impressed with her enough. They wanted to hitch onto her wagon. And so she went from her apartment to various offices in Hermantown, downtown Duluth. She's over on London Road now.
Keep going. No, I got a story about her. Okay. And it just hit me.
Well, anyway, so I'll make it quick. So she's been there for 25 plus years, not at that location, but her business. And so, she works, I work hard, she works hard. She's up at 4 a.m. She's still working up until 10 p.m. She never, ever stops.
That's awesome.
And and she's brilliant. She's just unbelievably kind, and she's shrewd. And she takes zero shit from anybody, but she will give you the shirt off her back. And she's an empath. Yeah. I am not an empath. Matter of fact, I really don't want to hear it, to be honest with you. But she's very empathetic to people and their problems and their joys and their successes. And she is really a feeling human being. And the fact that she's with me, it still boggles my mind. But we have Echo Back Productions, so I shoot video and stuff through her agency and do voice work. And basically, I do what my wife tells me, and I'm very, very happy soldier.
Good job. We're proud of you.
Best thing that ever happened to me, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to know the story. Tell me it's something really...
it's actually good.
Oh, okay.
But it just hit me.
The moment I'm kind of disappointed.
It's a good thing. But when he said Footprint, I said, that's on London Road. And this is how I know. So my first job here in Duluth, I was a shuttle driver for Kohler.
Okay.
And your wife came in, and I was like, this was my second year in Duluth or something like that. So I didn't really know a lot of people at all, But your wife came in and her car was getting fixed, so I drove her back to her, back to London Road, picked her up, and then we got to talking about, I don't remember what it was. I had something for school that I was looking to do, and she had helped me with an idea for it. And then I got her card, and then I think I reached out to her to help me with some advertising needs for NYS when I first started working there. Sure. But I haven't talked to her since. And I would have never put it together that was your wife. Well, I've never seen y'all together because I just see you at functions and things like that. But yeah, I've met her. I love driving her around. She was awesome. So
she's very, very kind. She listens, and she's very chatty. She'll tell you she's the first one that's very chatty. And I'll come home from work after hours and hours of blabbing away, and I'm sick of the sound of my own voice. And she'll get home from work, and she's ready to talk about our businesses, the issues of the day, what we're having for dinner. But I wouldn't change a thing about her. She keeps me in the present. She keeps me in the here and now.
Awesome.
And doesn't hurt that she's pretty and she smells like flowers. So there's that.
Now, how long have y'all been together?
Let's see. Oh boy, I hope I don't get in trouble. 2016, February 2016 is when we started dating. We were married in October of 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And do you have any kids together? Or?
No. I have 2 kids from my first marriage, Emily and Colby. Emily will be 25 in May, and Colby's 22 years old. So,
for sure.
Yeah, and awesome. they're great kids, wonderful human beings because they had structure.
You're damn right.
They had structure. They learned how to talk to people. Yeah, they're great. They're great kids.
Yep. And then a couple more questions. So, Happy and Donut, that's y'all thing, right?
Correct.
All right. How did they? I love that. Just the title of it too, and I want a bigger shirt that I can fit. But we can talk about that later.
We can find something. Yeah. I got a wife that can make you one. Actually, you know what she does.
We'll be talking to you. Tell me about how Half-Eaten Donut got started. And what it is for people who might not know.
For what it is, it's a live event that we do once or twice a year. We've done it in the past out at Earthrider. Due to circumstances, I don't know if it's going to happen this spring, but it's going to come back. It's a live event. We'll go on stage for an hour, do an hour of morning show stuff in front of a live audience. And we get them out there about 2 hours early. So they drink. because we're a hell of a lot funnier
Way
live.
funnier, yeah.
If you have a couple of pops, we give away a bunch of prizes, and then our buddies, the Northwoods Band, will play after that.
Yep.
And they allow me to get on stage and ruin their set with some crappy guitar playing, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great fun. So we've done 4 of them now, I think. And it's half-eaten donut. The actual name comes from one of our salespeople one time, took a donut out of a box of donuts, ate half of it, and put the other half in there. And of course, we lost our shit. We're like, what are you doing? So it's inside baseball for folks that listen to the show. It's for the hardcores that know all the little bits and ins and outs and everything of the show, which turns out there's a lot of people that do so.
Yeah, my first time, I had only went to it once, I think. I went to it twice. But my first year I was there, all I remember is I left shirtless. And I said, this was a beautiful night. It was great. I looked great. If you were wondering, I looked great. It rained a little bit, so you know that glisten of the water and the moonlight. Gosh, I look.
Yeah, you and I are different. I take my shirt off. First, it blind people from the sheer alabaster nature of my beer gut. So it wouldn't be a good look at all.
Yeah,
I mean, I see myself in the mirror. Sometimes I look at my wife. I'm like, I don't know. You should get your eyes checked, but God bless you that you want some of this.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
A little bit. It's a half-eaten donut.
What are you gonna do?
We locked in now. So, I gotta come on the show again.
Anytime.
Just to shoot some shit.
Anytime. We'd love to have you. I know you're heavily involved in the community. I know that.
Very.
If you ever have anything,
Yeah.
you need to get the word out. We've got a pretty good platform.
Definitely.
You know, you got my number.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just reach out. You're welcome anytime, brother.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being on with us for sure.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be asked. Yeah, for sure.
And I'll ask one more question that we always ask everybody. And I thought about how to phrase it a little bit different too. Because a lot of people think when I ask this, it means like go back and change something, but it's not. It's just if you could go back and say something to a younger Jason, what would you say?
Save your money. Save your money. Yeah, I absolutely would have done that. I've tried to tell them. I know it's a boring answer.
But it's a great answer, to be honest.
I get it. It's a boring answer. I suppose 2. 1, save your money. And 2, God, don't let people get you down. Don't let other people's view of you deviate you from your path. Just don't give a shit what other people think, you know, aside from the people closest to you.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to go crazy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hey, that's great advice. That's great advice. Well, thanks again for being on with us, man.
Brother.
And one more time, if people want to listen to the station, how do they find you?
Monday through Friday, 6 to 10, 94.9. It's KQDS, the KQ Morning Show with myself, Scott Savage, Bruce Siskey, and when he feels like it, Hunter McCullough. Yeah.
And one of these days, I'm going to be on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just wilding.
You have an open invite.
Done. Well, thanks again.
All right, brother.
And like always, like, subscribe, and share. We'll see y'all next time.